Hello, welcome to another movie review of mine. Afterwards, please take the chance to visit my website, www.thesceneviewer.com, where I have thousands of movie reviews, 60 plus lists of best films per genre, yearly rank lists with top 5 per category going back to 1914, and dozens of miscellaneous lists including TV shows, actor profiles, and top 10 films per actor. The link could be found below. Today we are reviewing The Onion Field 1979. Gave this movie a rating of 9 and was viewed in 2020 and 2022. I had heard of the Onion Field Killers but didn't know what it was all about until seeing the movie now. The basic gist of the case is this: at approximately 10 p.m. on March 9th, 1963, Gregory Alas Powell and Jimmy Lee Smith, the former white and the latter black, were driving around with the intention of committing robbery and made an illegal U-turn somewhere in Los Angeles area before being spotted by two police officers, Ian Campbell and Carl Hettinger, in an unmarked car. After Powell was ordered to get out of the car, he managed to turn the tables on them by holding a gun behind Campbell's back, and Hettinger was persuaded by his partner to give up his firearm. Once Powell and Smith had control of the situation, Campbell was forced to drive everybody to some random onion field in a Bakersfield. The cops were led to think that they would be let go once there, but Powell reneged on his promise and shot Campbell right above the upper lip. This is now the point that nobody had agreed on who really did it when Campbell was fatally gunned down 4 times afterwards. Hettinger escaped prior to that and ran 4 miles to seek help. After failing to locate Hettinger for a while, Smith drove away without Powell, and the latter was forced to find another automobile and got caught by another unmarked car during the same night. Powell confessed to the crime but maintained that Smith was the one who murdered the cop. They were given the death penalty, which was later commuted to life because the California Supreme Court decided in 1972 that death was cruel and unusual punishment. The trials took over 6 years with many filed motions, and because of Irving Kanrick, the notorious lawyer from the Tate LaBianca murder trials. Thanks to the book written by Joseph Wambaugh about the Onion Field murder that served as a major factor, the death penalty was reinstated. A hopeless drug addict, Smith was paroled in 1982, but had been in and out of prisons for decades until his death 25 years later. Powell remained in prison until his death in 2012. Although I'm near certain Powell was the one who killed Ian Campbell, the author thought it was Smith after all, so I have to go with the authority. Hettinger was labeled a coward by his fellow police officers because of what happened that night. They thought he shouldn't have given up his gun when he could have used it to defuse the situation. For many, it's been highly contentious and a matter of debate with no easy answers. Honestly, I found no fault at what he did. Regardless, Hettinger stayed on for a while but somehow became a kleptomaniac, which led to his forged resignation from the department. Psychologically broken, which is now defined as PTSD, and suicidal for a long time. He died of liver failure at the age of 59 in 1994. The onion field where the incident happened is no longer there. All of what I've described has been captured detail for detail in the onion field, right down to the cars and the locations, thanks to the author's insistence of keeping the truth intact. It's one of the, if not the, most accurate true crime movies ever shot. Yes, it's slow-paced and can meander a bit from time to time, but it's uniformly excellent and meticulously crafted. The acting is first-rate, and some of the cast are the spitting images of the principals who were involved. Absolutely excellent. James Woods, who must have weighed 125 pounds at the time, is the scene-stealing star of the show. Franklin Seals, a St. Vincent and the Grenadines actor, whom I've never heard of, certainly has the role of his lifetime. Looking destined to portray Harry Belafonte in a future biopic, he would die of complications from age at the age of 37 in 1990. Forced to internalize his feelings, John Savage was the hardest and most unforgiving task of anyone. By the way, if you remember the black prisoner who slashed his wrist, it's Jesse Lawrence Ferguson. He's especially memorable for playing the LAPD cop who put his gun against Cuba Gooding Jr.'s throat and made him cry in Boys in the Hood. The Onion Field is actually the first film for Ted Danson and Christopher Lloyd, making a small appearance. All in all, despite the faults, The Onion Field is a top 3 true crime movies ever made. Upgrading my rating from 7 to 9, I read The Onion Field by Joseph Wambaugh for the first time before seeing the film again. It may be the most factually true movie made with zero liberties taken. What's impressive is the performances and how well cast everybody is. The likeness of James Woods and Franklin Seals have to their counterparts in real life is quite close. They even act like them too. I admit the pace is slow, but the book is like that as well. If you're annoyed by Franklin Seals' performance, no worries. You aren't alone, as Jimmy Lee Smith was actually a crybaby whiner and a total loser. Although released in 1982, he could never stay out of trouble, going in and out of prisons until his death. The controversy of who really fired the last 4 fatal bullets into Officer Ian Campbell has never been settled to this day. Strong suspicions are toward Smith for having done it. It's apparent more than 2 lives were lost during that night in the Onion Field, and somebody suddenly forgot Ian Campbell was killed during the line of duty. Oddly, a square was dedicated in his memory, which came 50 years afterwards. Carl Hettinger didn't get a proper psychiatric treatment right away and was still in the state of shock for so long, which slowly ruined his health. Now it's unfair to criticize either in terms of what they should have done. It's impossible unless you were there and actually felt what they felt. Hence, training means everything. As for the killers, who cares about them? They're dead, and good riddance. All in all, it's best to read The Onion Field first and then see the film. Thank you so much for joining me for this review. Don't forget to visit my website at www.thesceneviewer.com.